How's it going, everyone? Welcome or welcome back to the channel. So on this video, we're going to be talking about things you should check for if your vehicle has been sitting for an extended period of time. So I'm not talking about a week or two. I'm talking about maybe you have two cars and you have a third car just sitting there. You thought you were going to use more than you did. And then, as the days, the months, and the years go by, it just continued to sit there. Now you need to start driving it, and some things that you should look for in this event that you need to start driving a vehicle now and it's been sitting for a while. So let's go ahead and get started. Right, so like we said, the vehicle's been sitting for a while here. We're going to go one by one on things that you should check for, in my opinion. Now, we're going to assume the vehicle was sitting outside. If your vehicle was sitting in a garage, maybe climate controlled, maybe some of the things won't apply, but if your vehicle was sitting outside, for sure, and even if it was sitting in a garage, some good things that you should go ahead and check for. So first things first, you're going to want to go ahead and check for rodent damage. Again, whether it was sitting inside or outside, chances are if it was sitting outside, it is more prone to this. You're going to go check for nests under the hood, nests underneath the vehicle, nests maybe inside the vehicle. We see sometimes they do come in the vehicle. Not often, typically it's under the vehicle, but you never know. So even if there's no nests, look for chewed wires. If there's nests, obviously remove that stuff and just get everything cleaned up. Make sure everything looks okay and nothing looks out of place. And great way to start by looking some of that stuff. After that, you're going to want to go ahead and check your tires. So you're going to check tires for a couple different things. Obviously, you're going to go ahead and make sure it has the right PSI. If it doesn't, then top it off to the right PSI that it needs to be. And then you're going to check for flat spots. This is probably going to be more so after you've been driving a car, but check for some flat spots. You're going to have vibrations and thumping and stuff like that if there is flat spots. You're going to check for drive rotting, so if the tires are cracked or anything like that. And you're going to check the date of the tire. So usually they're stamped 4 different digits. So let's say 21, 22. That means the tire was made the 21st week of 2022. So typically after 5 years or so, you're going to want to go ahead and change those tires. So if they look dry rot or anything looks out of norm, if you're going to put this vehicle back into service, probably not a bad idea to change those tires anyways, but obviously that is up to you. After that, visually inspect your rotors. Now they're going to have rust on them, but make sure that they look decent enough to drive. Now if you decide to drive this vehicle, it's going to make noise. It's going to have, funny stuff going on after sitting for so long. Even if it was covered, moisture gets in there and whatnot. So just something to consider. Maybe a good time to replace those as well. The pads and rotors, just get fresh stuff in there. So after that, another thing you want to check for is obviously your battery. Test it. If it was on a battery tender, maybe it'd be okay. If not, if it's been sitting for 2 or 3 years, I would personally replace it. I wouldn't play that game. But again, up to you. After you test your battery, check the belts, check the hoses, take a good squeeze to the hoses. If anything looks off, and if it's cracking or anything like that, get those replaced. Same thing with the belt. If there's crack marks on it, you're going to want to go ahead and replace those belts as well. And visually look at everything. Make sure there's no coolant leaks. Make sure the radiator's not cracked. Make sure there's no oil leaks. If anything like that is present that wasn't there previously, then maybe something you want to address. Additionally, if you're sitting for a while and all of a sudden you're waking up the beast, it could be that things been settled for so long that, stuff starts to happen now. So it could be that it produces leaks after that you started the vehicle, after for moving it and sitting it for so long. So probably a good idea to get the oil change at some point as well. This may be before or after your initial start. That's entirely up to you. But if it's sitting for a while, then probably something you want to go ahead and get done sooner rather than later, in my opinion. Along with the fuel as well. So somebody actually asked me, and this is what brought up this whole video, ways to drain your fuel if after the vehicle's been sitting for so long, and should you drain it. So fuel, even after the car's been sitting for 2 or 3 years, it'll probably still be okay or good enough to run, and empty out the tank on, its own. Now, if you don't feel comfortable with that and you want to go ahead and change it, you can certainly do that. What I like to do when we get cars with contaminated fuel is take out the back seat. There's usually a cover right there. You take out the cover, you remove the fuel pump. Now I'll take another fuel pump from one of these recalls that we're doing, for example, and attach a hose to it, attach some leads to it, a jump box, and drain the fuel out that way. Then wipe it down as best as possible. put $10 of, whatever fuel you want to use at that point, and you're good to go from there. If you don't change the fuel, just take it easy. Don't drive like an animal, and just for a couple of miles there, and until you drain it, then get some fresh fuel in there, and you should be okay. Again, we talked about the hoses and a belt. Battery, get it changed once again. After you get the vehicle started, let's say you drain the fuel, you got fresh fuel in there, you got a new battery in there, you inspected everything looks okay. You're gonna wanna go ahead and start it. So it's either going to start or not at that point. That's gonna be a good test for your starter. So what I would do is start it 3 or 4 times. If it does start, make sure the starter isn't tired, isn't lazy, didn't build some rust or anything like that. So once it's started, now it's time to check the charging system, right? So after it's all started, put a voltmeter to it. If you have one, check the charging system. Make sure it's charging appropriately with and without loads. So just idling on its own, and then add lights, blower motor, etc., to it to make sure everything in the alternator is adjusting accordingly to that. So make sure that you don't start driving a vehicle and you get stuck out there. After all that, take a look at the rest of the vehicle. Make sure all your lights are working, your blinkers are working, your wipers are functioning, cleaning correctly. Probably a great time to change those wiper blades out there, or inserts, whatever you have. If you have OEM Honda blades, you can certainly just do the inserts at that point. That would be a great thing to do. Also, you're gonna wanna go ahead and take this time to clean all your drains. Again, from the doors, is a lot of times you see stuff clogging up at the doors, your AC drain, your sunroof drains. If you have one, just make sure everything is draining properly. Now, when these cars sit outside for a long time, a lot of stuff collects on them and clogs up all these drains and causes your issues down the road. So very good idea to go ahead and just make sure everything is draining properly. If you don't know where the drains are, great. When you bring it into your service department or your private shop or whatever, just have them take a look at it, make sure everything is draining. So your AC, your sunroof, and your door drains, make sure everything is working as needs to be, and like that you don't have any issues down the road. So after you've done all this, and let's say now is a great time to get this vehicle to a shop, because you can only look at so much while the vehicle is on the bottom, right? Again, bushings could have dry rotted, caliper bushings could have gotten stuck, caliper pins, whatever, and it's a great time to, if you go ahead and drive this vehicle somewhere, test drive it very carefully for first couple blocks. Things happen while the vehicles are sitting. If you get it towed to a mechanic, it is probably the best option here, especially if it's an older vehicle here, and have them thoroughly investigate and look at everything, every inch of the vehicle. Don't miss anything. You want to look again, bushings, calipers, brakes, rotors, steering, rack and pinion, stuff like that. Get everything absolutely inspected from front to back, and just make sure you haven't missed anything. You want to go ahead and get this vehicle back on the road. You want to make sure it's safe, and you want to make sure you don't have an issue in a couple of weeks. Now, things could happen anyways, but at least if you did your due diligence and the shop did what they needed to do and everything looks okay, then great. You're probably going to have to address a lot of rubber components, tires and brakes. But other than that, the vehicle looks okay, drives okay, sounds okay, then it should be good to go. Again, this video is just for cars sitting for 2 or 3 years or more, and you want to get this vehicle back on the road. Just some tips and some things that you should be doing before you feel comfortable and safe to drive this vehicle back on the road long term. So with that being said, I'll catch everyone on the next one.